Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in to the ministry. Today's topic is going to be depression. It's going to be a very short video podcast. The Bible tells us in Psalms chapter 50 verse 15, "And call on me in the day of trouble, and I will deliver you, and you will honor me." The reason why depression is the topic for today is because I know that, especially with the new year, the holidays, and everything like they are, a lot of people are suffering the loss of a loved one or possibly some other event. Maybe they lost a dream career, they've got a loved one that's sick, maybe has a terminal illness. There are so many things that can bring on depression, and depression is the absolute worst mental health problem, I think, that a person can have. With depression, by definition, is not just feeling a little under the weather, it is extreme sadness or despair. In my case, the loss of my wife well over almost a year and a half ago is what brought my depression on. So I'm speaking from experience when I make this video and this podcast today. And I'm not trying to make it sound all boo-hooey, feel sorry for me, quite the contrary. Depression can make you feel like there's absolutely no end in sight. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. And for me, it got bad. It got so bad that, as horrible of an example as I am for a Christian, after my wife passed away, I prayed to God to end my life. Heart attack, stroke, something. I was praying for death every single night. That's how bad I was hurting emotionally and mentally. And it's not because I'm a weak person, it's because the wife I lost truly was my other half. She was my best friend, she was my everything. So when I lost her, everything for me changed. And it wasn't that I was shallow and had to go find myself, my identity. No, I knew exactly who I was. I've always known who I am. But it's kind of like one hand washing the other. You get one hand amputated, it makes it very difficult for the other hand to do anything, especially when both hands work together in unison on every single project. So Kathy truly was my other half, and when she was gone, it's a relearning process of how to do things on your own. So if this is part of your depression, you've lost someone or whatever the case may be, and you're at that point where you feel like you're not doing anything right, with that depression and those thoughts that go through your head can also trigger other problems that you could have, like anxiety, anger, fear. One of my fears wasn't so much whether or not I was going to make it, it was going to be how was I going to make it without her. I was afraid of how I was going to have to try to do everything on my own. I know that sounds probably kind of shallow for a man to say that, but that's how dependent I was on my wife. Not codependent, but that's how much I relied on her and how used to her I was. We did every single thing together. So when half of that equation was gone and you have to learn to do everything by yourself again, that's where my problem with fear came in. Of course, I got angry. I was mad at the world. I hated everybody, hated the world. I even got mad at God. No, I'm not going to burn in hell for saying that. God expects us to get angry, to get happy, to be sad, to excited, joy, you name it. Every emotion that He programmed us with, He expects us to go through. And when we get angry with God, I don't think He holds it against us. I think He uses that as an opportunity for us to seek Him out for His help. Obviously, with feeling lost and being afraid and mad, you can expect anxiety to follow close suit. And it did for me. I've gone through just about every emotion you can imagine since the passing of my wife. But I've also come to understand that in my darkest days, when I was the maddest I could be at God and the most lost I could be in my darkest days, all I had to really do was get on my knees and fight like a man and pray. So they say that it's a process. that grieving the loss of a loved one is a process. If it got so bad that if I ever hear anybody use the word process again, I'm liable to just bite their head clean off. It was process every single day. I got so tired of hearing it. But I also noticed that when I started praying to God for His help and His wisdom and understanding, that the word process never really got spoken to me again. Or maybe I did bite somebody's head off and word got around. I don't remember that I did, but anything's possible. As soon as I stopped praying for death and started praying for guidance, some understanding, some peace, give me some idea what I'm supposed to do, what direction am I supposed to go, you know, what am I supposed to do now? The more I prayed, the more the light came back in, the less the darkness I was living in. The more I relied on God, the less I relied on other people. And that's a different topic for a different day. The amount of people that you will lose that are supposed to be your closest friends, your strongest allies, the darkest days of your life will prove to you who's there and who's not. But without a doubt, God is always there. And it took some time for me to figure it out. Again, I was very angry, very, very upset, very lost, and I've come to realize that God never left my side. So, in your darkest days, when you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, the only thing I can tell you is you've got to seek out God. Stop seeking out the internet gurus that seem to have a quick fix for any and everything. Maybe they know what they're talking about and maybe they don't. God does. When your best friends come over and they start saying, well, maybe you need to do this, maybe you need to do that, even with their best intentions, maybe what you need to do is just get out your Bible and start looking for the answers. It wasn't until I started doing that that I started finding some actual resemblance of peace in my life. And like I said, the more I've prayed, the more I've studied the Bible, the more peace I'm getting. And it didn't come from any kind of a misled belief that someday I'll get over it. No, I will never get over my wife's passing. There's no way you get over it. What happens is that in time, it gets easier to manage and to deal with. You'll never get completely over it. You're not going to get over it, but you are going to learn to live with it. If you can get every ounce of strength you have in you and stop focusing on the darkness and start focusing on God, God will put the light back in your life. It's the only thing that has gotten me this far. It's the only thing that's going to carry me on through. And you've got to focus on God. That's all I can tell you. I can't stress that near enough because it's the only thing that's kept me alive and sane to this point. Depression is a real problem. If you yourself are not going through it or haven't gone through it, I pray you never do. The likelihood of that happening is very slim. Maybe you have a relative, a friend, a co-worker, a neighbor. Maybe there's somebody else in your life that's going through depression. And you would be amazed at the amount of good it would do for you to just call them. Hey, how are you doing? Do you want to go out and get a burger? You know, would you like to get out and go to the park, go for a walk? Even if they tell you no, it was the fact that you checked on them and you were sincere when you did that will make the biggest difference to them. It won't be so much that you took them out and bought them things and treated them to ice cream and all that garbage. It's just the fact that they know you cared enough to check on them, make sure they were all right. Hey, is there anything you need? I learned the hard way. I had so many people tell me, well, if you ever need anything, let me know. And then when I did need something, they couldn't be bothered. Out of all the people I've ever known in my life, I had literally 5 people that told me, if you need anything, let me know. And when I called on them, they actually showed up. Everybody else, every other time, it was one excuse after another. So, still in the hermit stage, coming out of the darkness, heading towards the light, but still in the hermit stage, I decided I was going to fix that problem. I pulled out my old phone, went to my contacts, and I went through every contact I had in there, looked at every single one of them. Everybody that knew that my wife was sick, and the ones that didn't call to check on her and see how she was doing, delete. Never looked back, never felt bad about it. Got to going through it a little bit further. Okay, now that she's passed, the amount of people that actually call and check to see how I'm doing. Oh, this person's never called me ever. Delete. A lot of people will say that what I was doing was being malicious, maybe. Shutting people out of my life. You can call it what you want it. All I call it is what it truly is I was making my circle a little bit tighter. And I don't want to use the term dead weight exactly, but I come to realize who the true family and friends were. And you will find this out in a hardship. If you are in absolute the worst days of your life and you call on somebody for help, and maybe they legitimately can't help you that day, but when it's excuse after excuse after excuse, they can't be there for you, then for me that's, well, it's dead weight. So I've deleted them out of my contacts, deleted them out of my life. Took a little eye-opening for me to see it, but God never turned his back on me. No, he didn't give me the answers I was looking for. Of course, obviously I prayed to keep my wife. That prayer never got answered. But God's no today could be a better yes for tomorrow. Now, I've yet to see this. I'm still trying to find the brighter side of things on my end of the deal. I'm not saying that everybody's going to have this much of a problem. Maybe your answers come quicker than mine. Maybe my answer never comes. All I know is that I have faith that whatever God's plan is, it supersedes mine. It's better than mine. And obviously it's going to bring more glory to him than my plan would have. And I say that with all honesty, all certainty. I have faith knowing that his plan is better. I don't have to know what his plan is. I honestly don't. Obviously, being human, I wish I did know what his plan was. But I have faith knowing he has a plan. And that's enough for me. I don't have to have all the details. When God's ready for me to see the next chapter in my life, he'll show it to me. And until then, I'm going to study the Bible, I'm going to worship him, I'm going to praise him. And instead of being mad about the time I didn't get to have, I'm thankful for the time I did. So in short, I'm going to wrap this up here pretty quick. When your darkest days come, seek out God. Seek him first. If you can get past all the stress and all the upside down your life has become, and seek him first, rely on him before all others, is the best step you can possibly make to moving through your depression and hopefully avoiding a lot of the fear, a lot of the anger, a lot of the anxiety, and get you back on track. And once again, if it's anything, any situation similar to mine, you will not get over it. There is no getting over it. So when people tell you, oh, someday you'll get over it, you're not going to get over it. You're going to learn to get through it. And yes, with a little bit of time, it has been getting easier for me. I don't ever expect it to be easy, but easier and more manageable for me to make my days and get through my days. And all that is because I relied on God. Not first, because I was still angry, but hindsight being what it is, looking back, if I would have done what I'm preaching to you now that you should be doing, I think I would have gotten through this a lot better than what I did. And I think I'd be a lot further down the road in my travels of learning to live this new life, this single life. So for anybody that's going through this, I pray for you. You need to pray for yourself. If it's somebody that you know, somebody, a loved one, a friend, a neighbor, co-worker, whatever, reach out to them. You have no idea the amount of good that will do to hear a friendly voice, knowing that you're sincere and that you actually want to help. And if you do offer your help, please do everything you can to be there when they call upon you. You may be the last friendly voice they get to hear. As always, thanks for watching. Stay safe, and God bless.